Obviously, it's your second straight loss in regulation, kind of third overall. Outside of the results, is there kind of is there a common denominator in the three games that you see?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest commonality from game to game for us is our desire to, maybe to try and make the game more complex than it needs to be. I think very often we're guilty of maybe hanging on to the puck a little bit too long, maybe trying to make a pass that just doesn't exist. I think if anything, we want to try and simplify our game a little bit. And I go saying what everybody says, but we got to get, we got to get pucks deep, and we got to establish forecheck, and that's something that I felt it was a little bit of a focus for us today, and I felt we did that in the first period. I thought we did a pretty good job of it, and then got down a few goals in the second period, which kind of, brought us back to that. Okay, we've got to try and create something amazing here. When you don't have to create anything amazing, and you just have to do small things in a great way. And I think that's something that we haven't learned as a collective yet.
How you said your team has kind of chased wins and felt a little bit more comfortable playing from behind. What was going on today where your team just couldn't rise to the occasion, especially considering you started the third period off on power play?
Well, you have to give a lot of credit to Minnesota. I thought they did a really good job defensively. They didn't give us a lot of opportunities, 5-on-5 or 5-on-4. They clogged the scoring areas very well. I felt like they had a little bit more, a little bit higher compete, winning races to pucks, battling for pucks, doing the kinds of things again that you need to do in this game to be successful. And I felt like they had more of that. So that was probably the biggest thing. They just really didn't give us a chance to get there. I felt like the wind came out of our sails a little bit after those two quick goals. And I think on the other side of that, I think it's, after a while, trying to come back game after game is fatiguing. It's a lot easier, getting the few goals at the start, and then doing what you need to do. That kind of tends to be a lot better. That's gonna look good. It's easier game to play, and I think less fatiguing.
You said Minnesota maybe had a little more compete as the game went on. Is it concerning that at this point of the year and where you are in the standings that the compete level wasn't where maybe it needed to be? Or maybe
well, I think to be honest, I'm always concerned because that's one of the things that you can control most of the time. You can control how you compete and what you put into that individual effort in all the situations in our game. So yeah, it's always a concern for me when a player is having a hard time finding that. Again, it's got a little bit of an additive effect of you've got a few that are having trouble finding that, and others have to kind of put a little extra into their game to account for it. That can be, that fatigues them and takes them away from their game a little bit. So it's something that we have to learn to do as a collective. We've got to prepare ourselves better to have that desire. And I feel, in all honesty, I feel like this team has more often than not, I feel like we've come a long way. It's just that, again, I think maybe we're starting to get tired of chasing the game a little bit.
You had sort of an opportunity on the power play coming into one of the periods, but before that, in the locker room, what was the conversation looking like?
Before the second period? I thought we did a lot of really good things. That what we talked about in the intermission is just about, I felt like we were giving away pucks. Like we were earning pucks in the first period. It was actually probably one of our better periods. I felt first periods in a while. We were getting it low. We established a forecheck. We were creating turnovers, and we got the puck below the goal line, which is a dangerous place to be in today's game because you can create a lot from there. But we were forcing pucks into that defensive structure that Minnesota played so effectively today, and so we were kind of giving them the puck back. So we work hard to earn it, and then we gave it back to them in a number of occasions. So we just talked about creating ways to make sure that we're possessing the puck a little bit longer and waiting for better opportunities to arise. And I thought initially in the second period, I thought things were going okay, and then that first goal just kind of was, oh no, not again. I think that's kind of what the feeling was, the vibe was.
Going off that question, how is the energy in the locker room? Only 4 teams can make the playoffs. How are you going to get that push to make it?
Well, I think it's got to come from within. We've been talking a lot about that these days, and you've got to find that inner spark. And they're all competitors. They all want to win. So I'm confident that they're going to find it as we get closer to the finish line. But it's sometimes that finish line is a little bit more foggy when you're still 6, 7, 8 games away from it. I think we just have to help them recognize that it's a lot closer than we think.
Yep.
And as was mentioned as I was walking in here, the reality is everybody's still so tight, and we haven't had a chance to, we're still in it. And that's the beauty of our game and the parity in our league right now is that we can string together a couple of really good games and build some momentum and right back in the fight.
Kind of along those lines, when you said some players are struggling to find their compete, does that fall on the individual, or is there something you as a coaching staff can do to help those players?
I think it's part and parcel with still getting to know our group. So every individual is motivated in a different way. So we're trying, in some ways we're trying just giving a little bit more love, and sometimes it's a little bit tougher love. So we're trying to figure out what works for some of our players. And again, these are players that want to compete, and it's just they're just learning how to get there themselves, I think. Some of them particularly because it's a higher level than they've played at before. So I know with some we've had some breakthroughs, and it's just up to us to continue to work to find what those triggers are for some of our players.
Coach, with Montreal being the last win that you guys had and it being recently, how do you, obviously there could be a blessing or a curse, but how do you keep the locker room focused on the game and not worried about past results against Montreal?
Well, we were just talking about it as coaches in the room, and one of the things, we got to look at ourselves too, and it's not just our players that aren't performing. I think there's things that we need to do better as well, and I think we've been maybe focusing a little bit too much on the opposition. So I think if anything, we want to take that focus away from the other teams. Maybe that's something that will help our team. Just focus on what we can do. Maybe drill into what our team identity is a little bit more, and so maybe not necessarily focus specifically on Montreal and what we need to do to beat them.
Awesome. Thank you, Howie.
Okay, thanks guys.
Thank you.